Good morning. I'm just getting back from the gym, and it is a hot day here in northern Utah. It is September 1st of 2025, and I wanted to talk about this topic specifically in regard to consciousness and how consciousness in of itself can act as a conduit for whatever it is you want to have happen in your life. In the Regal Change Academy group call yesterday that we had, we were talking a little bit towards the end about how people are focusing on the negatives and then they wonder why negative things happen. Have you ever tried focusing on the positives and seeing what would happen then? Because a lot of people are very focused on the negatives. A lot of people are very focused on how the world is cruel and brutal and people are very chaotic and they don't always have your best interests at heart. But I was having a conversation with somebody in the sauna today after the gym, and this guy's from Ukraine, and he was telling me about how he loves the people here. He loves the United States in general because everybody's so kind and everybody's so nurturing, and he's like, yeah, some people might say that it's fake, but he said, I'd rather have people be fake kind to me than to just not be kind at all. And I don't know if I agree with that, but I can see where he's coming from. I can see where he's standing, so to speak, right? Because a lot of the times people are so caught up in their own problems and they focus on the problems. Like if you go on the news, all you see is the bad things that are happening. Like, is there any good news? Sometimes I just don't even care to look at the news. I like to watch the news just to see, and I get my sources from a variety of different sources because I want to see what's exactly happening and what they want us to believe. But at the end of the day, I don't take it too seriously. I don't take anything on the news too seriously unless it's happening immediately and it's going to affect me in my life personally. Because I think we're just so accustomed to information nowadays, and we don't recognize what this information is doing to our brains. Whew. You have to forgive me for sweating, guys. It is a warm day out here. But anyways, consciousness in of itself, I talked to this lady last week who is she studied quantum physics in college, and she got her PhD in that, and she's now a therapist and all this. And something that she said, that she developed this ideology, not really an ideology, but this framework to talk to people about how to work through certain therapies and their struggles or their addictions and whatnot. And she mentioned the word quark. Now, maybe nobody's ever heard this before, but a quark apparently is like the tiniest piece of, you could say, fiber in the universe. It's smaller than an atom, from my understanding, and apparently there's more information contained in the quark than anywhere else in the universe, or just as much. So the quark is this, there's enough information to be in the quark than there is to be in the whole universe. That's really the point that she was trying to make. And if we're made of atoms and such, and we have these aspects of our life where we are witnessing light, like we are interdimensional beings and we see light, and we are light beings. Like even the Bible says, if your eye be single, let it be full of light. A lot of people have asked, like on my account, why do I have the single eye symbolism? Well, it's to get at what's actually in the Bible, and not like the Freemasonry crap and all of the all these other occultists out here. It's not what I'm about. But I recognize its significance. And I recognize that people are going to see it and think a certain way. But I think that it's kind of like the rainbow for the letter people. The rainbow is actually God's, symbol of wholeness and completeness and fruitfulness and fertility and all these different symbols of greatness, right, and prosperity. But the letter people have taken it and created this like counterfeit way of life and counterfeit righteousness. I mean, they even have like on the pride flag, right? Love, like love knows no bounds or whatever they say. And it's like, well, it's crazy because that's true. And a lot of the things that occultists or these esoteric teachings talk about, they're true, but they're talked about in a way that is counterproductive and not actually going to increase your ability to relate to life in of itself. In fact, it's going to hinder your relationship to the Creator and to life at large. Like something I've been researching recently is the Saturnians. Now, for those that are not familiar with Saturnians, it's not like they're evil necessarily, but it's like they channel the energy of Saturn and Kronos. Now, I just heard from somebody recently as well that there's a cryptocurrency called Kronos. Now, anybody that knows about the lore of Kronos and Saturn and such, this is the father of time, God, right? That this is the God that has pure energy. It's just pure force and energy and order. But the thing is a lot of these Saturnists, allegedly, which are a lot of the elitists out here, believe in certain modes of operation and being in which if they do certain things at certain times, astrologically speaking, then they're going to get what it is that they want. So basically, they use astrology and spirituality in a way that channels this energy of the universe to create these illusions of life. Because a lot of these people are materialists. They want to live forever. A lot of these elitists, they want to live forever. And they don't actually want to see people prosper. They want to live forever. They want to keep you in chains. And it's like, well, who exactly is they? Well, it's like, well, follow the money. Follow the money. And follow the people that rhymes with pews. Y'all know you'll know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not trying to say that like they're evil or anything like that. These pews people, the people that rhyme with pews. I'm not saying they're evil, but I'm definitely not saying that they don't have their hands on a lot of different ways of influence in the world and the banks in the world. And the banks really are the ways in which people orient themselves and create power dynamics, because the banks own the countries at this point. They kind of have no other option but to do so based on their business model, and countries have bought into it, and people are paid out at the expense of the taxpayer. So you're the one getting exploited. You're the one getting all these attacks by the Matrix. You're the one being watched. You're the one that has no privacy. Meanwhile, these people are curating you into believing that you're not as powerful as you want to be and could be. And so what I say to that is, take this information, take your power back, reclaim it, start visualizing what it is exactly that you want, and start orienting your modes of being to ensure that you're going to get that and that you're going to move in a way that is going to increase the likelihood of whatever it is that your vision wants to come true. You have to first see it. And this is part of the light theory, right? Because light, anybody that studied the slit experiment, and we've talked about this in the Maps of the Psyche class in the Regal Change Academy, the slit experiment happened where, light operates as a particle and a wave. All right, so if it's a particle and a wave, and it can simultaneously be in two places at once, seemingly, well, what does that mean? It means that time for light doesn't really work the way time works for the way that we see it linearly. Okay? So if you can imagine it and you can envision it, if you can see the positive sides of life, can you imagine what you're capable of? And maybe you just are too focused on the negatives to see it. Maybe you're too focused on what you don't have rather than appreciating what you do have, or appreciating the feelings of life that God's given unto you. Because this guy at the sauna, he was talking to me a little bit about God as well. And he said, if God made us, why is there evil? Why is there horrible things happening in the world? And that's a good question. That's a really good question. Well, if God forced you to be good, would you want to be good? Or if God gave you the opportunity to do evil, but you were able to choose righteousness instead, in spite of all the other crap, which is better? And he said, oh, well, I guess the second one. It's like, okay, well, then that's why bad things can happen in the world. And that's why God doesn't do everything about anything bad that happens. Like that shooting the other day with the with the letter people, where they went into the church and with a bunch of kids and killed like 2 or 3 kids and injured 17 people. Why does God let that stuff happen? And this was a question I'm paraphrasing the question a little bit, but somebody asked this question in the Regal Change Academy group last week as well. It's like, well, then why does this, if they were in prayer and they were praying in church, why does that happen? Shouldn't they be under God's protection? That's a great question. But no, it's not the way it works. In this world, there's still the opportunity for evil to exist. There's still the opportunity for bad things to happen. But think about the power that you have. Jesus even says, ye are gods. And now he's quoting, part of the Psalms there, but he's also saying that. You are gods. This is what I mean when I say, do you have the godlike mastery mindset? This is what it means to have the godlike mastery mindset. You can curate anything you want in your reality. All you have to do is have the faith the size of a mustard seed, right? If you can see a mustard seed, have you ever seen a mustard seed before? They're not very big. But if you have that size of faith, you can move mountains, Jesus says, right? So there are bad things that happen in the world, of course. And speaking of bad things, there's a siren. Don't know what's going on there. But that doesn't mean that you can't appreciate the good things. There's like a little breeze that's just blowing the lighter a little bit too much. There we go. Whew. Guys, it's hot out here. Holy moly. But man, getting good sun and getting a better tan, I suppose, and getting that vitamin D and staying in tune with my circadian rhythm. Man, it feels nice to be in the circadian rhythm again. I remember just a few weeks ago, I had a temp job for about a month, and I was working graveyard shifts. Holy crap. The first week was brutal. By the third, fourth week, I was okay, but I still prefer to be alive in the daytime. You know, like when you're at night, like when you're doing stuff in the night, you are in the middle of darkness, like you're in the tunnel. You know, you're in the tunnel of life where anything crazy that could happen might happen. And anyway, it was just a bizarre time, you know, because I hadn't done grave shifts for that long before. But I'm grateful for the experience. And this is what it means to really like know that everything that you want can be possible. God's going to give you the path. All you have to do is walk it. It's really not that difficult as far as the actionable steps. What's difficult is the trusting the process. And you just have to trust, man. You just have to trust. You just have to trust that things are going to work out and things are going to go the way that you want them to go. Or they're going to go the way that God wants them to go. And you have to trust that God's way is higher than yours. Because it is, number one. But a lot of people don't want to trust that. A lot of people don't want to believe that that's possible. That's the case. But if you understand consciousness and you understand the way that life works, go be free. The world is your oyster. Literally, you can create anything you want. It doesn't mean that it's going to magically appear. Whew. I'm going to have to turn this off, I think. It's not going to just magically appear, but the thing is like, if you show God that you're willing to do the work, and it's not always about work, right? Like the Bible does say that you're going to have to work, right? And we talked a little bit about this in the Regal Change Academy calls yesterday as well. A lot of people are afraid to work. And they think that because I follow Christ, that makes me better than these other people. Absolutely not, brother. And or sister. And if you think it does, you're kind of missing the point of following Christ, man. But I'll leave you with that. And with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. Peace. Until next time.